basketball. That record will also likely never be broken because they don't play that many games anymore. Not long ago, I was bragging to a friend of mine about this amazing team that my grandfather coached. This so-called friend of mine caught me off guard when he said that I really couldn't be certain that this Branson team was the very best team in the state that year. When I asked what he meant, he pointed out that that year there were two divisions, Class A and Class B. Branson was the Class B champ, and Class B was where the smaller and medium-sized schools played. The Class A champ that year was Joplin, and so my friend said, I really couldn't be 100% sure that Branson was the best team in the state that year. There's only one problem with his theory. It just so happens Branson played Joplin that season, and they won by 14.
At the 58 state championship, the night before the final game that they won, I was sitting with my dad in the stands. I think I was in the 6th grade at this time. And we were watching the team that Branson was going to play the next night. And as I was watching them, I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way we're going to beat this team. And I can remember turning to my dad, who was never braggadocio about anything. I mean, he just kept all his feelings inside, plays his cards close to his vest. But I remember asking my dad, I said, well, Dad, I mean, do you think we have a chance to beat them? Oh, no problem, he said. And I looked at him because he never expressed those emotions outside to anybody else. And I thought, you know what? He not only believes that we're going to beat him, he's confident. And you know what? I think he passed that on to his players because I think they felt the same way. They could beat anybody.
Soon after winning the 1958 state title, Coach Chase had announced his plans to step down as basketball coach. A ceremony was held at Branson High School, not only to congratulate the 1958 state champs, but as a send-off to Coach Chase. They laid out every trophy that was won by one of my grandfather's teams over his 8-year coaching span. They were stacked 3 deep and stretched the entire length of the stage.
Our first inductee this evening, John Earl Chase, high school coach. He spent over 40 years in public education, coaching primarily at Branson High School in basketball, football, track, and baseball. He won 2 state basketball titles, including a 41-0 record in 1954-55, and came back in the 57-58 season with a record of 36-1. In World War II, he attained the rank of captain. He served in Europe, including the Battle of the Bulge. John Earl Chase.
We begin our inductions tonight with an individual who represents what we all hope is achieved through athletics and for what this State Hall of Fame is epitomized. The late John Earl Chase was not only a coach, and a highly successful one at that, but he was a teacher and a friend to his students and athletes. Sure, winning is important, and the 2 Missouri state titles he won while coaching at Branson were indeed glittering highlights. But there was more to Mr. Chase than just winning games. Springfieldian Tom Field.
Well, you played for John Earl because you respected him. The years that I played for him, I don't ever remember him raising his voice to me or to any other player. He was always a consummate gentleman. You had a great deal of admiration for him. When I was growing up outside of my father, he had more influence on my life than anybody did. He took pride in whatever he did. He taught American government. He took just as much pride in his American government class. It was one of those classes you never wanted to cut because you didn't want John Earl to even think you cut classes.
Coach Chase's 1954-55 Branson High School basketball team won 41 consecutive games.
That was one of those clubs that it was 41-0, because back then you could play 41 games. Now, of course, you can't. But the fellows that played on that team played all the way through high school together. It was just a well-disciplined team.
Accepting Anita Chase and Scott Chase.
Well, first let me say that I wish every boy and girl could have had a dad like the dad that my brothers and I had, and a mom like the mom we still have. We love you, Mom.
Congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Well, Wes, we appreciate you coming down and visiting with us today, and congratulations to all of your family on John Earl Chase getting into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
Not only was my grandfather the first person to ever be inducted into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame after his passing, he was inducted with legends like Lou Brock, Jerry Jones, and Rusty Wallace. Not bad company for a small-town basketball coach. It's been nearly 60 years since my grandfather coached in Missouri, yet he still holds a number of records. His career winning total of 248 wins and 48 losses gives him a winning percentage of over 83%, and that earns him the very top spot on this list of Missouri's greatest coaches. Between 1955 and the start of the 1956 season, my grandpa's teams won 46 games in a row, which is good for 7th all-time. The record of 41-0 in 1955 still stands as the best single-season record. And my grandfather's record of 21 wins and 3 losses in the Blue and Gold tournament is the best winning percentage of any coach in the tournament's 70-plus year history.
My name's Clark Harris, and I started teaching in Branson in August of 1975 and retired in May of 2004. He was always good to a new teacher. I was 22 years old. when I started. I just turned 22, and very encouraging to me. And I would always ask, was there anything he could do? Or
Evelyn Layton, and I started school in Branson, and I graduated from Branson. I worked in the office when I was in high school, and so I saw a lot of Mr. Chase, and I never saw him when he did not have on a suit and tie. I never saw him when he wasn't just kind and soft-spoken to anybody, even when we would mess up in the high school. He still was kind and soft-spoken.
I'm Joanne Powers. Well, I think of him, he was a gentleman. He thought things through and really was for the good of the community, the kids, and even us teachers.
I don't remember him ever, asking us as teachers to do anything that he would never have done.
My name is Nina Avery. It was Wallace when I was in high school. I started teaching in 1970 and I retired in 2000. One time at an assembly, I remember this, I've always remembered this. He stood up and said, "Someone has taken the S encyclopedia." Well, we only had one set of encyclopedias and they were in the library in 1959. So either bring it back or take the other 20-some volumes.
I'm Roger Newell. I came to Branson in 1979 to be a junior high school counselor. My office was actually, within a very short walk to his office, so I got to see how he operated, and he was exactly as advertised. He was a wonderful man. I enjoyed working for him. He was always straight shooter.
Mr. Chase hired me to teach 7th and 8th grade American history and PE class in the fall of 1966. Mr. Chase was Branson Public Schools. That's what he did, and teaching is certainly the top pinnacle of that. You go from the personnel down, but I've heard reference made to him that Mr. Chase handled the finances and the regulations and operation of Branson School like it was coming out of his paycheck, because he was a Branson public school man through and through.
He didn't put up with any foolishness, He was very serious. He was, he was kind, but he was strict. Oh, I think he was, he would be, way up there. If 1 to 10, he'd be at the 10, being a gentleman.
He touched so many lives in so many ways. After having other superintendents, he was probably one of the greatest because he always let us make a lot of the decisions. Were they always right and agreeable to him? No, not always, but he always gave it back to us in such a way that we never felt like he wasn't respecting our attitude.
I think he was always interested in doing the best for students that we could do. And of course, in his day, we didn't have a lot of money in this school like Branson School has now. So he was interested in the students, and he was a good supporter of the teachers.
Mr. Chase, that's what it was all about, was the welfare of the kids. I admire Mr. Chase, and the impression that I had of him was really one of the key determining factors as to why I left Lincoln and came here. Like I said, we did the pros and cons, and he was definitely a pro.
The betterment of Branson public schools and the students therein, that was his baby, as I saw a commercial the other day ago, and that's what he dedicated his life to.
Mr. Chase, I have tremendous admiration and respect for you. I thank you so much for having confidence in me and hiring me here in Branson. My last 22 years were here in Branson. I never considered going anywhere else.
That's what he was. To me, that's what he was. That personifies John Earl Chase as a man of integrity, and it was a pleasure to work for him.
I would say thank you very much for being the gentleman that you were, that I observed when I was in high school, and also as you were when I was a teacher under you.
He asked me if I'd coach freshman basketball, and I replied, "Do I have to win?" And I almost laughed. I had to restrain myself because Well, Raj, it would be nice if you won a few.
Over the course of this project, I've seen many stats. One of the most impressive to me was when I learned that over the last 100 years, the Branson School District has had only 5 superintendents. Shortly after my grandfather retired, the mayor of Branson named April 12th John Earl Chase Day. Many local businesses closed, and they hung a large banner on the highway honoring my grandfather for the many years he dedicated to the school system.
But it was a terrible day for Branson and the school. I was at Glenn Persinger's house, who lived right over here on Pacific Street, and listening to the radio show that was being broadcast from the stage. And students used to take turns on the radio show. And this particular day was Paul Schuler.
This is where Mr. Cody and John Earl Chase got those kids out of here. Who knows? They may have stayed there and wanted to see a fire, but he got them out.
Due to the quick thinking of Mr. Cody and Mr. Chase and some of the students, the building was evacuated very quickly. Virtually everyone was out.
Except for one person who didn't get out. That was the women's PE teacher, Virginia Wilcox.
Before exiting the building, Virginia remembered there was a tape recorder still in the girls' locker room. She decided she wanted to try and save it, so she went and grabbed it before leaving.
When she came back out, everybody was out. This was all smoke-filled, fire over here, and she couldn't breathe. But she knew there was this door out here, which was actually 2 doors, because it had a little building out there, a little entranceway. So she got to right here and passed out.
Virginia Wilcox collapsed to the gym floor on the inside of a locked door.
So Glendale Bogus went around outside. Glendale was about 5'9", weighed 220. Came through the outside door, broke it open.
Nobody really knows how Glendale knew to look on the other side of that door, or how he was able to break it open. But thanks to his heroics, Virginia Wilcox survived. Another hero that day was Superintendent Cody. He received fairly significant burns while he was trying to hold a door to shield some students from the fire. Unfortunately, the story doesn't end there. Senior Beverly Jones had safely exited the school building when she remembered that she left her brand new coat inside and went back to get it. That decision ended up costing her her life. Beverly had been caught in a backdraft and was severely burned. She managed to make it back to the front door of the school, which is where Mr. Chase found her and brought her out to put her in the backseat of his car.
John Earl Chase's car.
Yeah.
Beverly was taken to nearby Skaggs Hospital, where she died soon after.
Yeah, when one of your students comes out and you know they're not going to make it, that's a bad day. I'd never experienced anything like it or haven't since.